Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So a slight change of pace, just to remind ourselves that this channel is not just Arabic content, though that's one of the most important things I'm doing at the moment. If you are interested, I did make a video recently about the educational vision of this channel, which, if you're interested, you may watch. What I want to do now, the topic of today is, oh, whoops, these are the slides from the last video I made. Let's scroll these. Is to speak about the trivium. The trivium. So this was essentially the model of education in pre-modern Europe, but also essentially the same thing is found in the Islamic world. So both in Christendom and in the Islamic age, both in the East and the West, we have this universal and general model of education. Begins with the trivium, try for three. After that, there would be the quadrivium, but I'll focus on the trivium just for today. The trivium, let's say it is the study of letter, and the quadrivium of a number. I highly encourage you, I'll try to put a link in the description or maybe on the video, two videos I made, the meanings of letters and the meanings of numbers. The trivium begins with this educational syllabus where the first cosmic principle is the word of God. And therefore the first educational pedagogic principle is to study the word. And the word consists of letter and number, of what we said in Arabic is ma'na and mabna. Because a letter has a root letters, and it has a form, a morphological form. And essentially that's how we begin with this education. Ma'na, letters, meanings, that is what the trivium studies. Numbers, mabna, structures, that is what the quadrivium studies. So the trivium consists of three subjects: grammar, logic, and rhetoric. I just want to introduce these today and to speak very briefly about what they mean and how they interconnect and what it might mean for us today. Grammar, to begin here, is not just a set of rules. Like we say today, to be a grammar Nazi. If someone keeps correcting YouTube comments and says the punctuation is wrong, the apostrophe is wrong, the spelling is wrong, it's a grammar Nazi. It's something totalitarian, something dictatorial, something which we don't really like to happen to us. And that's understandable, that's fair enough. And therefore it's put most people off grammar, to think that grammar is some type of an absolute set of rules which is there to catch you out. But if we go back to, especially if you've seen my videos in Arabic grammar now, the understanding of language as something divine, as the mind itself. Language is that which is given to man by God. It is the breath of God. Words are meanings, the archetypes of things. Grammar is then the study of the mindscape. The word logic comes from the Greek word of logos, which basically means word. In Arabic, we would say kalima. In fact, the Arabic word for logic is mantiq, which comes from the root of nut, which means speech. So there's essentially the same idea. So logic actually is basically a part of grammar, if it's about the word. Then logic, for this reason, is put under the arts of the letters or the sciences of meanings. Grammar studies the structure of language itself. It's not a set of rules, it's a diagram, it's a map, it's a tree, the tree of the Arabic language, the cosmic tree. All these ancient peoples have this archetype, this mythical archetype that the shape of existence is like a tree. There is a tree of life, a tree of existence, the cosmic tree which covers everything. In fact, the Quran speaks of the Sidratul Muntaha, this tree which covers all of existence. So at the very pinnacle of existence itself. There's also the Shajaratul Zaqqum, the tree of hell. There's a tree at the bottom of existence and a tree at the top, because existence itself is a tree. That is grammar. That might seem like a far away comparison, whereas grammar coming in. Grammar studies trees. If you study grammar, we will see that it's all about trees. This tree of how the roots of meanings, root letters, form into words and effloresce, flower out into meanings and sentences and structures. Logic, ancient logic, comes directly out of grammar. It's so close, it's almost impossible to even distinguish them. I suppose what logic might be is more a universal grammar. Because if we study Arabic grammar or English grammar, there are still nuances to how this particular language expresses meanings. Logic is to study the grammar behind grammar. The grammar behind grammar. And let me put over here the tree, the cosmic tree of language. As for rhetoric, I actually much prefer the Arabic rhetorical tradition, which calls this ilm balagha. And balagha is a far more comprehensive, deeper a science than I would say rhetoric in English or the classical tradition of Latin and Greek. So let me give that definition, where rhetoric, in a sense, would be a natural extension of grammar. Rhetoric is, I might just even put down advanced grammar. Because if grammar studies words and how words form sentences, rhetoric is looking at sentence structures, how to put sentences together. Because grammar will just tell us what is a sentence, full stop, no pun intended. But how might we order and organize our sentences, organizing ideas into a narrative, into a story? That is really what rhetoric studies. For that reason, poetics is a part of rhetoric. Well, by poetics, we might mean two things. I mean, originally, poetics was the study of storytelling, Aristotle's Poetics. How to tell a story is a part of grammar because letters become words. Words form sentences, or rather phrases, and phrases form sentences. Sentences form paragraphs. And where are we going? Ultimately, the final product of language, whatever it is, whatever the mode and medium, is a story. An essay well written should be a story. A speech given well should be a story. A lecture should be a story. Life itself is a story. For if the world is the word of God, and if the word becomes a story, then the world is the story which God is telling us. It is the story of God in action, history, his story, if you want to make a weird word play. That's rhetoric, and that's logic, and that is grammar. So we see, in fact, we might say all of this, the trivium, pertains to, again, previous slides. The trivium, the science of the word, of letters. Is this tree? Let's go with green. It is this tree. All this brown. Whoops, I'm cutting away my words, but that's okay. It's this cosmic tree with the roots. The roots of this are, well, really is etymology. The roots of meaning, letters. That then goes up into morphology and syntax. Morphology, beginning to form words. And now syntax, forming sentences, sentences and phrases. That forms grammar. Then we might have, well, logic. I don't think is so obvious to go here. It's really everywhere, but let's just put logic here because we study it next. Logic. All of this grammar is coming together in logic. I suppose it's well placed because really logic is again studying sentence structures or propositional structures, let's say. Propositional structures. Because sentences are giving us propositions, valued judgments that things are other things, which can be true and false, which we then understand into diagrams of meanings and ideas. So we begin with the roots of meaning, climbing up with the grammar, spiraling and coiling up this world tree, forming into logic, the propositional structures, and ending up with the flowers of rhetoric. Which pertains to beautiful language, sentence structures, and poetry, poetics. And it's all at the top here because the fruits and the flowers of all this deep work is the story itself. Because a barren tree technically may be a tree, but it's not what we mean. It's not the tree brought to completion. But when the tree blossoms and gives forth its leaves and its flowers, and is full with richness and life, that is the tree. That is the tree of life. That life is given at the very end, when it has become complete, by the study of rhetoric. And so this is the trivium. It is the study of the cosmic tree of existence, beginning from the roots of meanings and going unto the very periphery of the story of all things. And that is what it means to study the trivium, to embark upon this classical ancient way of learning, this ancient syllabus, which had a telos, it had a goal, unlike modern education. It had a goal which is human perfection and happiness. It had a goal which was for man to be godly, to walk in the ways of God, and to become one with God in his presence and company. This is the ancient syllabus, the trivium and the quadrivium. And really, this is what we are doing truly with our classes in Arabic, and what we shall do when I very soon shall go into English and also mathematics. So I believe this is a very important video, one I might refer back to frequently. But for now, let us end this here. Wassalamu alaikum.